Welcome to the debate. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating collection, 25 ghost stories, to explore the very essence of what these spectral manifestations truly represent.
And our central question for discussion is this. Do the phenomena described as ghosts in these narratives primarily signify genuine encounters with the supernatural, offering us glimpses into an existence beyond our conventional understanding?
Or are they largely the intricate products of human perception, misinterpretation, and sometimes quite elaborate hoaxes?
My perspective is that actually a significant portion of these compelling tales provides pretty robust evidence for authentic supernatural occurrences. My interpretation takes a different route. While I find the tales undeniably captivating, rich in mystery, I propose that many of them, upon closer examination, offer clear indications that the purported ghosts can be more credibly explained by, human ingenuity, psychological phenomena, or just simple misidentification of natural events.
Okay. Well, what I find truly compelling and I think often overlooked in this collection are the numerous accounts where the supernatural is presented as undeniable, often with physical manifestations or profound, inexplicable impacts that, frankly, challenge any purely materialistic worldview. Consider the extraordinary case of the parlor car ghost. Here we have a narrator directly interacting with Jade Billington Price, a spectral salesman who not only speaks and requests a specific purchase, but then physically materializes and delivers actual blue denims. Then, the narrator even describes feeling the strong, unseen hand steady in her, and her bag becoming weightless, as if carried by an invisible companion. Now, this goes way beyond mere hallucination or suggestion. It's a tangible, material interaction with the world, leaving an empirical trace.
Okay.
Then, there's the chilling Mrs. Davenport's ghost. A seance, initially designed as a deliberate hoax by Professor Davenport, right? It's dramatically disrupted by the true apparition of Mrs. Arabella Davenport. She appears, complete with a bleeding wound and a knife, directly exposing the professor's guilt in her murder. And this revelation, it chillingly coincides with his assistant, Ida Southshott's sudden death. This is far more than a mere trick. It's a purposeful, supernatural intervention with profound real-world consequences, bringing justice from beyond the grave.
Right.
We also see concrete physical harm in The Phantom Hag. The narrator, after a terrifying encounter with this invisible entity, discovers 5 perfectly distinct holes in his cloak, a tangible injury from an unseen force. This physical damage, compounded by the subsequent death of a friend's wife, presents a physical consequence that just defies ordinary explanation. It really suggests a malevolent, supernatural agency at work.
It's certainly a disturbing detail.
Perhaps is the ghost of a live man. This narrative presents the extraordinary phenomenon of a lost captain's psychic projection, his ghost, repeatedly guiding another captain. This spectral presence draws specific markings on a chart, leading to the precise location of the lost ship. And the climax comes when a blood stain mysteriously appears on the chart, precisely matching a wound on the rescued living captain. This isn't just a vision, it's a supernatural mode of interaction with real-world life-saving consequences, demonstrating a direct influence from a conscious yet physically distant mind. Finally, The Vengeance of a Tree offers a powerful instance of, let's call it, unnatural agency. An ancient oak from which an innocent man was unjustly hanged refuses to be cut down, resisting all efforts to fell it. Later, it collapses and crushes the true murderer with a gray, dim shape reportedly springing from its fallen trunk. This implies a purposeful, supernatural retribution, a form of sentient and moral judgment in nature that extends beyond our conventional understanding.
Well, while those examples are certainly vivid, I find that explanation difficult to accept as, universally true across the collection. When we look closely at many of these tales, what seems supernatural often has its roots in deliberate fabrication, products of vivid imagination, or just misinterpretation of natural phenomena. For instance, In Ghost of Bucksdown Inn, the white and sheeted ghost that leads the narrator to a hidden treasure, well, it's ingeniously revealed to be the inn's proprietress, Bunk Watson's wife.
Right, the hoax.
Exactly. She orchestrated this elaborate hoax purely for financial gain, demonstrating how human ingenuity can convincingly mimic the supernatural. The ghost had a very human motive and methodology, meticulously planned to deceive. Similarly, the burglar's ghost features this mysterious informant, initially believed to be the spirit of Barksley Bill, who accurately predicts a burglary. Yet the story later unmasks him as the very much alive Bill, seeking revenge on his former associate, Light-Toed Jim. He faked his own death and used the ghost persona as a calculated act of deception. It illustrates the profound lengths people will go to achieve their ends, even adopting the guise of a specter.
Okay. Clear cases of deception there.
But we'd also see this in An Unbidden Guest, where ghostly disturbances, missing pepper pots, disordered items, heavy footsteps are ultimately attributed to nothing more than water rats making their home behind the sideboard. It's a mundane biological explanation for what initially seemed like poltergeist activity, highlighting how easily natural events can be misinterpreted through a lens of fear or, expectation. Moving to other instances, a phantom toe describes a truly terrifying vision of a naked human toe and a subsequent struggle with an unseen opponent. This intensely personal and frightening experience is later resolved by the discovery of an insane man, not a spectral entity. This underscores how deeply unsettling psychological states or encounters with mental illness can be misconstrued as supernatural phenomena, especially when filtered through fear. Then there's the Phantom Woman, where Gilbert Dent's repeated sightings of a dead woman are framed as manifestations of his own nervous creation or vertigo, as suggested by his pragmatic brother. This story brilliantly showcases how grief, guilt, or psychological distress can conjure powerful, seemingly external apparitions within the mind, making internal turmoil feel terrifyingly real.
Psychological explanations, sure.
And finally, the Black Cat provides a crucial moment of rationalization. Despite the horror of the narrative, the narrator himself attempts to explain the indelible image of the cat on the wall as a natural effect of plaster, fire, and ammonia. This internal struggle to find ordinary causes for extraordinary events points to a fundamental human desire to rationalize, even when surrounded by the uncanny. It suggests a predisposition to seek natural explanations before resorting to the supernatural, regardless of what the story intends to imply for the reader.
I absolutely acknowledge that human deception and psychological factors can certainly account for some purported supernatural events, of course. However, my argument centers on those cases where the physical evidence simply cannot be dismissed as mere trickery or misinterpretation, like the direct delivery of actual denims by the spectral salesman in The Parlor Car Ghost, or the distinct, inexplicable marks left on the narrator's cloak by the Phantom Hag.
But could those marks have another source?
Well, the text presents them as directly resulting from the encounter. These are not just visual perceptions or subjective experiences. They are interactions with the material world that leave empirical, measurable traces. To attribute these to simple misidentification or hoax requires an extraordinary leap of logic. It implies a level of coordinated deception or a perfectly timed coincidence that, frankly, strains credulity beyond the breaking point. The very presence of material objects or physical wounds from a purported ghost fundamentally challenges any purely natural explanation, suggesting a genuine breach of our physical laws.
While your examples highlight some genuinely perplexing events, I would argue that such evidence can often be part of a clever deception, a highly selective interpretation of events, or even an unconscious fabrication by the mind. In The Burglar's Ghost, remember, the informant's accuracy seemed undeniably supernatural, yet it was entirely human, a well-planned act of revenge where the guise of a ghost provided the perfect cover for his living activities.
Mm-hmm.
The human mind has this remarkable capacity to connect disparate events, to form a seemingly coherent but ultimately false supernatural narrative. It's a phenomenon often described as pareidolia or apophenia, seeing patterns or connections where none objectively exist. The physical proof in An Unbidden Guest, the moving objects, the footsteps, was entirely explained by the presence of water rats. The evidence seemed supernatural until a more mundane, yet entirely logical cause was found. We frequently seek patterns in meaning, particularly in times of stress or fear, which can lead us to supernatural conclusions, even when a natural explanation is readily available, or at least plausible.
My skepticism about that line of reasoning arises when considering the clear, purposeful intervention demonstrated by many of these entities. Many ghosts in this collection act with explicit purpose, often benevolent, protective, or seeking justice, which strongly points to genuine consciousness beyond death. Think of the Spectre Bride in, The Spectre Bride, saving Ralph Hagedorn from falling into a dangerous ice rift, guiding him away from certain death with a clear protective intent.
A benevolent act, yes.
Or Mrs. Davenport's ghost, appearing with a knife to expose a murder and bring a killer to justice. These are not random occurrences. They are targeted actions with significant, often moral or protective implications. We also see this in Sandy's ghost and the ghost of the Count, where spectral presences actively guide individuals to hidden treasures, indicating a conscious, deliberate effort to communicate and transfer information. These actions go far beyond random haunting. They imply intelligent, conscious agents operating with specific objectives.
I find that explanation less persuasive, because while purpose appears to be present, it's frequently rooted in distinctly human motives like profit, revenge, or even the desire for storytelling itself. The proprietress of Buckstown Inn, for instance, created a ghost purely to attract business and make money. Barksy Bill's ghost was a calculated act of revenge against Light-Toed Jim, a very human act of retribution, not a spirit from beyond. We are also driven by this profound need to find meaning and order, even when confronted with chaos or the unknown. The preface to the collection itself highlights this human inclination, stating that men, women, and children like to be thrilled and to have a creepy feeling along the spinal column. This suggests the purpose is often for the living, to entertain, to scare, or to manipulate, rather than a genuine supernatural motive. Many of these purposes can be seen as projections of our own desires and anxieties onto the unknown.
That's a compelling point, though I would frame it differently. The profound, deeply personal nature of some experiences, often witnessed by multiple individuals simultaneously, really defies easy explanation as mere human psychology or a desire for thrills. In the old mansion, Captain Jim and his friends all simultaneously witnessed the apparition of the woman with the child looking out over the sea. They were, quote, standing there paralyzed because, quote, they had seen the woman too. This shared, verifiable experience among multiple, otherwise rational individuals suggests a shared objective reality, not merely individual delusion or psychological projection. Similarly, in A Misfit Ghost, multiple officers on the naval vessel Aegir each saw the selfsame apparition in the port cabin, acting in the exact same way. These are not isolated, subjective experiences, but corroborated accounts that strengthen the case for an external, supernatural reality that impacts multiple observers independently.
I remain unconvinced by that line of reasoning, because witness testimony, even from multiple individuals, is notoriously unreliable, especially when factors like fear, duress, cultural predisposition to belief, or, shared suggestion are at play. People are often quick to jump to supernatural conclusions. We see this in The Ghost of the Count, where the cashier readily believes in a ghost despite logical inconsistencies and his own admitted inebriation and desire for a good story.
Okay, but the Aegir officers.
Well, group psychology is powerful. Our minds are incredibly susceptible to suggestion and the power of collective belief. Even in The Ghost of Washington, Riley's extraordinary experience, where he finds himself transported to Valley Forge and encounters a very material Washington, is initiated by drinking a peculiar liquid. This places him in an altered reality, a chemically induced hallucination or dream state perhaps, not a traditional ghost encounter in our shared reality. Furthermore, the very nature of ghost stories, passed down through generations, subject to embellishment over time, it speaks to the inherent unreliability of perception and memory, often shaping narratives to fit expectations rather than pure objective fact.
To conclude, I believe the sheer volume, the diversity, and often the deeply physical nature of the genuine supernatural accounts in 25 Ghost Stories truly challenge purely materialistic views. These are not simply tales of the uncanny. Many offer compelling physical and emotional evidence, inviting us to keep an open mind to the mysteries that lie beyond our immediate comprehension. The very fact that these stories have been collected and retold speaks to an enduring human encounter with the inexplicable, which frequently leaves tangible marks and profound emotional residue, pointing to a reality far richer than we often admit.
My perspective diverges here. While the collection is undeniably a testament to the enduring human fascination with the unknown, many narratives ultimately underscore the immense power of human psychology, creativity, and sometimes outright deceit in shaping our perception of ghosts. The underlying commonality across these captivating tales is humanity's deep-seated desire to explore what lies veiled by death, whether through genuine spiritual encounters, through the powerful and often deceptive lens of our own minds, or through the deliberate crafting of enthralling narratives.
This collection then serves as a really rich exploration of the human experience with the uncanny and the unknown, prompting us all, I think, to consider our own perspectives on what truly constitutes a ghost.
Indeed, it encourages us to reread these stories, perhaps with fresh eyes, considering both the natural and supernatural frameworks we've discussed today, fostering a deeper, more nuanced engagement with the material.